Hey guys, TJ here, and today we're going to be talking about The Greatest Showman. This movie is kind of like if you took the greatest show on earth and you made a Disney Channel original movie musical out of it. So The Greatest Showman is a musical starring Hugh Jackman about the life of P.T. Barnum, or the creator of Barnum and Bailey's circus. And it starts when he's a kid all the way up until he creates this circus that kind of is the first of its kind. I know this is based on the life of P.T. Barnum, and I didn't really know much about his life. And after looking it up, it obviously doesn't really follow much of how his life went out. But the story as a whole is pretty straightforward. It starts from when he's a kid, and it goes all the way up until he creates the circus. And I don't really think anyone's gonna leave this film thinking that the story was the highlights. For most musicals, that's normally not the case anyway, but especially for this musical, it just was not the highlight. And that's because the songs are far more polished than the actual script of this film. I think the guys behind La La Land had, done the lyrics for these songs, and they kind of sound really catchy, top 40s-ish, really poppy kind of songs. And I actually enjoyed them to a certain degree. Only like two stood out to me as songs that I could actually get stuck in my head. But the other songs are kind of poppy, 21st century sounding, just background noise songs. Now I gotta get into the actual criticism with story, which is most of the movie. First of all, like the time span of this film, like I know it's a musical and they gotta get through the story, but they start from when he's a kid and they go a long way. Like even when he creates the circus, like a lot of time has passed and I'm not necessarily sure if they handled that correctly. And at the time that he's trying to grow the circus and become a success, he's also trying to hold on to his family. And then there are also a lot of other subplots that kind of just are sprinkled throughout this film, like they're everywhere. And the problem with all those subplots is the fact that you just don't get a lot of resolution for most of them. At one point I was just expecting them to address one, and not many get resolved. Like only like a few get resolved, and then there's a bunch others that just don't get any more treatment. They're kind of just brushed off even by the characters, which is kind of strange because you would think that the characters would hold on to the experiences that they're having, but in this film, not so much. So in terms of how the movie deals with the characters and their importance, it's like P.T. Barnum and his family, then it's kind of Zac Efron and Zendaya, and then it's the rest of all the people in the circus. They don't get anything else. While I said that I enjoyed the songs in the film or listening to them during the film, I kind of wish that some of them weren't so studio-esque. And by that I mean like that they weren't just manipulated into this pop sounding thing. I really wish they did more of the Les Mis thing, kind of like where like the actors are singing on set and you kind of just get the emotions that they're going through, because there are some parts of this film that I feel like would have really been enhanced by having, the characters feel the emotions and that affecting the song that they're singing. There's a point where Zendaya has that happen, but it's very brief, and I actually feel like that should have happened more throughout the entire film. And again, I know that this is a musical and the story is not always like at the forefront, but like the script is just kind of really cheesy. I know it's meant for families, it's a PG film, but ultimately this does feel kind of Disney Channel original movie-esque, where things are just really convenient, and the conflicts really aren't that dire. Like, things happen in the film, but then, this happened afterwards, we'll get over it. I don't know, I feel like the stakes could have been higher. Like just a little bit more effort could have been put into the actual dramatic tension of the script, and that would have just served the film a lot more. But I digress. I'm sure people that are wanting to see this film are just not wholly concerned with what I'm talking about. Like they just want to see a musical, and I understand that. I love musicals, but I want musicals that actually really get me invested in what's going on to a certain degree, whether that just be like the genuine sounding of the music being a musical rather than just a collection of top 40 hits. But this film has kind of a warm delivery and more meant for families and kids to enjoy. Look, I can clearly say that if you don't like musicals, you're not gonna like this film. Like, it's not gonna be like a La La Land where people that don't generally like musicals can get into it. This is like, you have to like musicals, and you have to kind of just be willing to watch a cheesy movie and enjoy it for what it is rather than looking at all its flaws, because there are a bunch of flaws. Altogether, it's a kind of a non-offensive experience. I wouldn't say you should go to the theater to watch this, but this might be something that if you like musicals, you might, you know, turn on Netflix one of these days, just sit down for casual viewing. It's not really that intensive an experience, and the songs aren't that memorable except for like maybe one or two. So I would definitely say that The Greatest Showman is a wait. Well, that's all I got today, guys. I hope you liked the video. Be sure to like, share, and subscribe right here if you want to see more, and I'll see you on the next one.